This is Metro News Hotline, navigating the world of sports, news, entertainment, tech, and more from a Mountain State point of view. Here's the host for Metro News Hotline, Dave Weekley.
Kristyn Burtt, Hollywood Dirt, now joins me. Kristyn, how you doing today?
Busy here in Hollywood, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. You know what? Let's start, though, with Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible, there's a bunch of different ways you can measure these things. I saw one measurement. Hey, franchise record opening 80 million the first weekend. But I think a lot of experts were looking for a lot more.
Well, first of all, the opening weekend was 5 days because it opened on Wednesday and not on Friday. So actually, it is not the record opener for a 3-day weekend for Mission Impossible. In fact, it fell far below expectations. It was about 56 million for that 3-day weekend, 80 if you include the other 2 days. And it's quite disappointing because it was tracking way above that. They thought that they were going to hit, just for the 3-day weekend, 75 million. And so it was a real big disappointment here in the United States. However, overseas, it did great. So, it's probably just saying maybe we had enough of Tom Cruise with Top Gun last year. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting point about what Top Gun Maverick, the impact that had on Mission Impossible. I mean, that was a wildly successful movie. So the buzz is really good on the latest installment of Mission Impossible, but they're going to lose a lot of screens. I mean, make room for Barbie, right? Make room for Barbie, make room for Oppenheimer. There's only so many dates where Mission Impossible can make its money back.
Right, and where they're making a lot of the money is IMAX theaters, and Oppenheimer has the exclusive on it beginning on Friday. So Tom Cruise's film only had 9 days on an IMAX screen, and that's not really good news for him. He tried really hard, but Oppenheimer got the exclusive for IMAX, and that's the way it's going to move forward. And the movie itself, like Mission Impossible, cost $300 million without marketing costs. So it is going to have to be a huge, huge earner overseas in order to maintain that budget.
All right. But people like the movie, right? I mean, the critics like the movie.
It's a good movie. And honestly, some of the stunt scenes, Tom Cruise always likes to outdo himself from movie to movie. I will say it's too long. And I think that that's one of the things that does get to people. A nice swift 2 hours in and out is good, but these movies are creeping to 3 hours, and a lot of people just don't want to sit there for it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I mean, Oppenheimer, we know, is 3 hours.
And the one thing Oppenheimer is doing right is that they've come together with Barbie, and people are doing Barbenheimer, and they're doing a double feature that day. But they made it this whole marketing campaign. Everyone kind of came together and said, let's not compete. Let's make this an event day at the movies. And I think that was brilliant.
My wife and I were kind of discussing this and counterpointing it last night. I was watching a documentary about Barbie, and she doesn't seem to think the movie's going to do well. I think it's going to do really well. What do you think?
It's going to do huge numbers. It is tracking right now about $90 to $100 million for the weekend.
Coop, would you take your daughter to go see Barbie? The Barbie movie? Is she too young for Barbie?
She likes Barbies, but this movie, I don't know. She's only 5. I don't think she would really get from what I've seen anyway, I don't think she would really get the premise of this movie all that well.
Yeah, I've seen it. She's too young.
Yeah.
Let me follow up on that, because the clips, you really don't see, they don't show you a lot in the clips. Is this a comedy? What's Barbie about?
It's a comedy, but what it does is it takes the whole Barbie premise and what she sort of represented for so long and twists it. Gives you that whole modern spin on it. And, Ken finally has a voice. Barbie is kind of doubting her existence as kind of a sex symbol in a modern world that talks about feminism. And it's really funny. And I think there's a lot of inside jokes. Anyone who grew up with Barbie is really going to enjoy it. It is not a kid's movie. I would say you could probably take your 13, 14-year-olds to it, maybe 12 and up.
All right. Tell me about The Golden Bachelor. Obviously, ABC has got a hit with the Bachelor franchise. What's going on with The Golden Bachelor?
They revealed who the Golden Bachelor is going to be. He is a 71-year-old grandfather from Indiana. His name is Jerry Turner. So it's the first ever senior citizen leading man. And his first wife passed away. So he's now looking for love. And he's got 2 daughters. He's got a couple of grandkids. He's got a house in the lake. He loves pickleball. He loves Chicago sports teams and four-wheeling. So if that sounds like what people are interested in, I think it's going to be interesting. I got to be honest. It's going to, just because, this normally we're looking at like 24-year-olds looking for love. I think it's kind of refreshing and takes away sort of the ageism on television and puts him in the place of being in charge of trying to find his next wife.
Well, but one of the other things I think that might work here is that, the basic channels like ABC, NBC, and CBS, Fox 2, their pool of viewers tend to be older, right? So there's going to be a lot of people who are going to identify with the Golden Bachelor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love The Bachelor premise personally, but I think I probably will tune into the first episode to check it out. My mom's excited. She was like, that sounds like fun.
Okay.
And, hey, we do need all of this content for fall. So this will be airing Mondays at 10 p.m. just after Dancing with the Stars. So lots and lots of unscripted content coming our way.
All right. So now we've got actors on strike. We've got writers on strike. I got a lot of questions.
Yes.
Number one, we know that, for example, movie actors and the primetime stars are on strike. What's this mean for like soap opera actors?
They can still work. So, and I'm speaking to everyone, just so everyone knows, I am a SAG-AFTRA member. I work in the entertainment broadcasting contract, just so everybody knows. But the actors are currently picketing against the theatrical contract.
Okay.
Soap actors, anyone like Good Morning America, The View, game shows, they're all under a different network contract. It's called a network code contract. So currently they are allowed to work. They are expected to complete their obligation to that contract. They are not expected to just say, hey, I'm going to walk off the job and join the picket line. Their contract is in place and it does not come up for renewal until 2024, where they will be looking for the same sort of protections of whatever happens with this strike. But I think that's really important to note. So, and I think you asked about Hallmark actors.
Right.
Hallmark is also part of theatrical, and they unfortunately are also on strike.
Okay, so for example, the Hallmark and GAC Christmas movies that they run nonstop in the middle of July, even though the holiday's months away. I mean, if those movies aren't done, they can't be completed until the strike is over, correct?
Good news, yes. I mean, the good news is a lot of them were fast-tracked and bumped to an earlier production schedule in anticipation of this strike. Believe it or not, a lot of the holiday films are filmed during the summer. So, and some of them are filmed in January when the Christmas decorations are still up. So there's opportunities. There's going to be some new original Christmas content coming our way. There probably won't be the breadth of what we've seen in the past few years, where we've seen each network, dropping 40 movies. It's probably going to be a lot less than that.
Okay.
Maybe half.
So, for example, while these actors and writers are on strike, shows that are produced in England and using personnel over there that are not on strike, can those programs air in the United States?
They can only, things that are filming, if they're if they're working under a UK equity contract, not a US SAG-AFTRA contract, they can keep filming. But we are going to see a lot of programming from England, Canada, Korea start making its way on our screens. In fact, today, CBS just announced that they are just mixing up their whole fall schedule. Mm-hmm. Yellowstone's moving from Paramount Plus onto CBS for the fall. The British version of Ghost is coming to CBS. And then you're going to see 90-minute episodes of Survivor, The Amazing Race, 48 Hours and 60 Minutes. Like, I mean, we're seeing like a lot of things be supersized. And then SEAL Team, which was a CBS show, moved over to Paramount Plus, is now coming back to CBS. So you're going to see a lot of shifting, and you're thinking, wait, didn't I see this on streaming? Yes, it's because the linear networks are not going to have any content if they don't start moving things over quickly.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. Finally, I got about a minute here, but I did want to ask you this. If the strike continues to linger, the movies that are slated to open at Christmas time, because those are prime slots, could some of those films be moved up to kind of fill the void?
Well, everything is staying on track with movies. That's the good news. Everything has been slotted out for years in advance. So everything will continue with its scheduled opening date. at least through the end of the year. I don't know what will happen about next year, but I will say the things that you won't see, all press junkets have stopped, all interviews have stopped. They wrapped up press junkets June 30th. So we did them for the entire summer through at least September 1st. But anything that comes out September 1st or later, there'll be no celebrities promoting their film, no red carpets, anything like that.
All right, got to leave it there. I'm sure we're going to continue to talk about this. Kristyn, thanks for coming on the show today, and I'll talk to you next Monday at 4:33.
Thank you.
All right, Kristyn Burtt, Hollywood Dirt. A lot of news there. Let's get Chef Paul Smith on the air. Hey, Paul, how you doing?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Hey, man, how long you been back in town?
I've been back in town for, it seems like forever.
Huh?
Just a week.
Just a week. Hey, you know, you're a busy guy. You got so many things that you're operating. 1010, The Pitch, Barcadas, Ellen's Ice Cream. You got your salsa rolling now. I mean, when you go out of town, there's so many moving parts to your career. Is it tough to keep that all going when you're not hands-on?
No. You know, I have such a great team around me that, you know, I let the people do, you know, what they're best at. You know, we hire people and then empower them to do what they do. And, of course, I'm very controlling and very hands-on, but they and I also need a little break every once in a while.
All right.
I think they need a break from me, too.
Well, I don't know about that. Hey, Coop, what did you want to ask Paul about the biscuits you made this weekend?
Oh, I don't know. I think they turned out okay.
Oh, you don't need any advice from like from a professional?
Never needs any advice.
I mean, I'm
He's a
sure.
professional.
I mean, I'm sure that I could, but you know, I used like the shredder for my butter, so I could get nice cold butter, and I didn't have to cube it up or anything. So I used the shredder. That's a nice hack that I picked up that worked. And otherwise, there's only 4 ingredients. You know, I mean, it's pretty easy to put together drop biscuits and some seasonings in it.
No, you didn't. It wasn't so easy that you didn't think of your old cohort here. I mean,
I just
like
forgot
bring
it at
in a
home.
couple.
Now, here's the one thing I did do that I've never done before: making drop biscuits. I usually make my regular biscuits in a cast iron skillet, but I made my drop biscuits in a cast iron skillet this time, and it was delicious.
Oh, yeah.
Very crispy, very good.
Nicely done. Hey, Paul, you ready for a couple of questions?
Let's do it.
All right,
I'm ready.
Here you go. 304-216. Hey, Paul, what's the best way to fix an egg over easy? Not rubbery, not runny, not crispy. The perfect way to do an egg over easy.
You know, so I start out medium hot pan, drop my, do a little bit of butter or oil, whichever one you want. Get it to where it's just, you know, the bottom is just set. And then you want to flip it where you have, you know, the egg yolk tends to want to migrate to one side.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to take the side where there is the least amount of, so the side where the egg yolk is closest to, you want to flip toward that side. So there's less chance of breakage. And then honestly, I do 30 seconds and then flip it right out on the pan.
All right.
You know, right on the clip. And just that way it's nice. The yolk is still nice and runny, but both sides are set.
All right, good deal. By the way, we got time for a couple more questions. I got some in queue for Paul, but if you want to send one in, 304-8255, 304-304-TALK, 304. Paul, here's another one. This is more like a comment rather than a question. 304-552. Hey, Dave, Chef Paul spoke today at Charleston Rotary. A+. He knocked it out of the park. We are so lucky to have a humble, great representative of West Virginia. Paul, you got to love that, man.
You know, it was my pleasure to do it. I mean, Rotary is important. You know, it was really, really fun to speak in front of a bunch of, you know, Charleston business people. It was great. I loved it, and you know, was very gracious for them to give a standing ovation. It was fantastic. I really had a blast.
Good deal. Here's another one for you. 304-695. Hey, Paul, what is this Wagyu beef we hear so much about, and why is it so good? That's a great question.
So, it is a great question. So Wagyu is a breed. So just like Angus, Wagyu is a breed of cattle. So it's I kind of explain it like this. Champagne is sparkling wine from Champagne, France. So Wagyu is basically sparkling wine. Kobe is from Kobe, Japan. So Wagyu breed itself, lends itself to the breed itself has a lot more intramuscular fat. So that marbling that you really want, those little white flecks of flavor. So Wagyu beef is a breed that lends itself to have a lot more intramuscular fat, which in turn adds a lot more flavor.
Okay, hope that helped. I've got a couple other things I wanted to ask you about today. Let's see. Let me get this here. Oh, I saw this story, and I wanted to ask you about it. So, you've got your thing that's going on at the farmers market this week, right? Thursday around noontime.
Yep. Thursday, right around noon. A little bit earlier, about 11:30. We're celebrating some tomatoes. So we're going to do a J.Q. Dickinson salted fresh ricotta that I'm making with milk, and the J.Q. Dickinson nagari, which is a byproduct of the salt making process. So it's like a natural coagulant. And then we're doing a heirloom tomato caprese with a walnut basil pesto.
All right, good deal. That's free, right?
Yes, sir. It's free, and you get a sample. It's pretty much the best deal in town.
All right, so that's Thursday at the Charleston Farmers Market, and you'll get going about 11:30. All right, let me ask you about this. I sent you a story about McDonald's McCafe. Their bakery lineup is there are a bunch of items that are going away. I don't know if they're going to completely shut this down or not, but the apple fritter, the blueberry muffin, the cinnamon roll, the only permanent McCafe bakery items are going to start being phased out by the end of the month. You know, what goes into a decision like that?
Oh, I would say, when you're in an industry like ours and you're in a place like McDonald's, it's sales. I mean, you have to look at sales versus, what goes into it. So that basically is profitability. So if you want to look at how much these things are selling, how much auxiliary sales they're getting from it. So maybe they're selling more coffee, which is cheaper and more profitable. But I would say it is 100% that these items are not profitable for them, which means pull them. I would say the whole McCafe line might be going away soon, but that's just my thought on it. I mean, places like Starbucks and all of these coffee shops and everything that has their own bakery lines, I would say McCafes are they're living on borrowed time.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. And the story goes on to say, in Kentucky last year, they did a test where they brought some Krispy Kreme donuts in there and they sold them at McDonald's. That doesn't sound like such a bad idea. I mean, they're not creating these things at McDonald's, right? I mean, they're just basically warming them up.
Yeah, they're probably creating them somewhere in a commissary kitchen, shipping them in frozen and warming them up. I would say, you're right. If you did a Krispy Kreme or something like that, that wouldn't necessarily be a competition, and you could cross-brand between Krispy Kreme and McDonald's, I'd say that's a win-win. And why not reinvent the wheel? But again, buying something and then reselling it, you got a lot less profitability on that than making it yourself.
All right, good stuff, Paul. Hey, before I let you out of here, what's your take on Messi? What's your take on Messi to Miami? That's official now. He could be playing in the MLS starting next weekend.
It's crazy. You look at things like Beckham did the same thing, right? Messi still is kind of at the top of his game. I think Beckham was a little further along in his career, maybe on the downward slope. But hey, you sell tickets. Selling tickets and getting a payday. I'm not upset about that at all. I love seeing Messi. I think he's super exciting. I think he will be by far the best in the league, and he'll sell tickets everywhere he goes. If I won the lottery, your question of the day, I would, right now, I would buy them.
Yeah.
And if not that, I think I would buy the Savannah Banana.
I think Messi's first workout in Miami is actually tomorrow, and it could be playing this weekend. And I just bring that up because you played at Charleston Catholic and at Virginia Tech as well.
Yeah, I bet that the warm up sells. They could sell tickets to the warm up. I mean, you look at these players like Messi. I mean, probably one of the most famous people in the world. You could sell tickets to his, to their cafeteria. People just want to be around it. It's pretty awesome for the MLS. It's smart.
All right, got to leave it there. Let's get Wick Terrell into the mix. Wick, how you doing today?
Thanks.
Hey, Wick, now how are the Reds doing in terms of signing their recent picks? They've got Lauder signed, right? Their overall number one guy?
Yeah, he actually put pen to paper yesterday. They announced the deal a couple days prior to that, and it was just the matter of getting details in. He signed for about $500,000 short of his slot value as well, which the Reds immediately turned around and used to sign their second-round pick, Sammy Stafura. Sorry, I can't speak today. High school shortstop out of the North in New York, and they managed to get him signed for about roughly the exact same amount over slot, and talked him out of his commitment to go to Clemson. So they still got a long way to go. They got to get Ty Floyd, their second pick of the draft, and the comp round signed. But so far, it's been a pretty impressive series of wheels and deals by the front office.
You know what? Coop, jump in on this. Did we ever get the guy on the Reds ground crew identified who got eaten up by the tarp last night? I mean,
I don't know who that was.
We've seen him. They just play this clip over and over and over. Coop, you worked many rain delays for the Wheelers. You ever see anything remotely like that? A guy get underneath the tarp?
It seems like I should have, but I don't know that I ever remember. I've seen crazy things on the tarp, but most of it was after the tarp was already down. I don't know that I remember seeing anybody. The Reds have had issues. Didn't somebody who got hurt? Who's had the season-ending injury from the tarp injury? Somebody had a tarp injury that was a season-ending injury.
I remember.
Year.
Didn't Vince Coleman had an injury, right?
Yeah, that was back. Somebody for the Reds did, didn't they? Wick didn't one of their. Seems like somebody got hurt from it. I can't remember.
I'm drawing a blank. I feel like that sounds right as well. They were out there almost like playing around in the rain. And got hurt. And I can't remember who it was. It was a while ago, but I cannot remember who it was.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about Encarnacion Strand. So he's up to the club now, and the Reds have been scoring so many runs, and now over the last half dozen games or so, they haven't been scoring runs. What can Encarnacion Strand do to help them in that regard? Strand, rather.
Well, I mean, since the start of the 2022 minor league season, there have been 2,149 players who have played at least one plate appearance at some stop along minor league baseball. Only two have hit more home runs than Kristyn Encarnacion Strand has in that time. So, and this is a guy who's done it between high A, double A, triple A in two different organizations. So it wasn't one hot streak in one small ballpark that he called home. He's done it everywhere he's been. He's basically outperformed everybody's expectations when he was a fourth-round pick. And is a guy who looks like he is legitimately a tremendous power hitter who's got a pretty good eye at the plate also. I think they've got enough versatility on their roster to make sure that he's going to get plenty of plate appearances. So I don't think he's going to either not play enough or render somebody else who should be playing not playing enough. They're just going to have to mix and match and try to find that magic they had in the first half of the season when for a lot of players that hadn't really been up to the big leagues before, they were all playing enough and playing well enough to really power that offense. And, Coop and I were talking off air a minute ago that we hadn't really seen any of them slump yet. And you knew that most of them were going to slump at least for a little bit here and there. It just seems like as the All-Star break got here and then they took a little bit of time off, they all managed to find a way to slump at the same time. And as long as at least one or two of them can pick up the pieces quickly, I think they can get back to being a pretty dynamic offense because there are just so many guys out there that David Bell can use to mix and match on every single night. I think Encarnacion Strand gives them a big right-handed bat and right in the middle of that, which is something they need.
I was curious, Wick, if you could break down a little bit of the catcher situation for the Reds. I expected going into this season that it was going to be hard to get Tyler Stevenson to sit down. Like, some pitchers have their favorite battery and somebody that they like to pitch to. But my expectation of Tyler Stevenson, he was going to be so good offensively that it was going to be hard other than rotating him into DH or, I thought they were going to be forced to play him some at first base this year because he was going to be such a valuable bat. That really hasn't been the case. Not only from an offensive standpoint, but really whenever they're looking for defense or certain pitchers, he's really getting exchanged out of there a lot.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you about Kirk Casale, but I haven't seen him in a couple weeks.
Yeah, disappeared.
Yeah, and it's an interesting question for sure, because carrying three catchers for any team with any dynamic is going to be difficult. But for a team that's got so many options at designated hitter and first base, you can't really naturally rotate one of them through there, especially when none of the three of them are hitting. I'm not a huge believer in catcher ERA, because there's so much noise that can go into that between, bad nights by a starter or pitching in small ballparks or all that other stuff that small samples happen. But it's kind of hard to miss that Luke Maile and Kirk Casale have had a lot better performance out of their pitchers than the way Tyler Stevenson has this year. I don't know if the injuries that he went through last year are still kind of, he's working his way back from those, whether it's because he hurts physically or just because of the lack of repetition and the time off. But it certainly doesn't look like the way that this three-headed monster of catchers is performing warrants having three roster spots dedicated to it. And I think you've already started to see that scaled back, because we haven't seen Stevenson at first base since Joey Votto got back. We haven't really seen him DH that often either. And as a result, we've seen Kirk Casale not play at all. So they're effectively carrying three catchers while really only using two. Encarnacion Strand is just going to kind of further put pressure on that, because he's going to take a lot of those plate appearances at DH and first base along the way.
So let's talk a little bit about what the Reds may be thinking at the trading deadline. I mean, they've hit a little bit of a rough patch here, but they're right at the top of the division. And, this is a year where the Cubs are rebuilding, the Pirates are scuffling. Who knows what's going on with the Cardinals? I mean, this could be an opening for, if the Reds added some pieces, to win this division, and there's only going to be one team from the Central that's going to go to the playoffs. In your opinion, what do the Reds need to add at the deadline?
Yeah, there's the old adage of you don't pick the year picks you when it comes to trying to make your push. And I think that everything is kind of falling at the Reds' feet right now, saying, look, 3/5 of the division is not very good at all, and there's going to be sellers. You've got to make some sort of an effort here to make this more than just a let's see what we've got with what we have kind of year. I think they need starting pitching, despite the fact that we've seen 3 straight shutouts to start the second half and to wrap the first half. I think the offense is going to be fine, especially now that they've got Encarnacion Strand back. It's got the versatility in the platoons to really be able to attack any sort of pitching. I think they just need a proven starting pitcher. I think they really do, and I think the rest of it will kind of fall into place. The question is how much they know more that we don't know at this point in time, because Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo are both rehabbing from injuries and are supposed to be back roughly a week, maybe 2 weeks after the trade deadline. Is that really going to happen? And are they going to come back and be good enough to be able to give that boost? Or are you going to have to bridge a gap to them again? And we're talking about a 3 to 4 week stretch that's going to be pretty crucial with the Reds. They play the Brewers again. They've got the Diamondbacks and the Giants and the Dodgers, 4 playoff teams right now. And that's what's between them and the trade deadline. They don't have a soft enough schedule to kind of wait and see what the rest of the baseball world does. So the question is, will that 2 week window open it up to where there's other teams that become obvious sellers? And that's the problem with the expanded playoffs and the way that the divisions have kind of shaken off, is that some of the only obvious sellers are their division rivals, who probably aren't going to give them some of their better pieces at discounted rates. So it remains to be seen whether or not the White Sox go into full sell mode, if the San Diego Padres begin to kind of acknowledge that they're not making a run this year and flip some pieces off as well. I think the Reds are going to have to wait almost to the last minute for some of those teams to become sellers to really have a deal that looks like it makes a lot of sense to them. But regardless, they got to get some pitching. They just don't have it right now.
Well, the Reds are one of the teams we know that is at least talking to the White Sox about Lucas Giolito. But, I mean, there's a whole host of people who will be looking to add him. And in terms of how much starting pitching the Reds may be looking to add at the deadline, it may not be one starter. It may be 2. Who are the most likely candidates to be dealt?
Yeah, Giolito is, I think, probably the obvious name because he's the best rental starter out there. So in theory, you know exactly what the cost is going to be, which is if the White Sox hold on to him, issue a qualifying offer, he declines it, you have to beat the draft pick that they would otherwise get from keeping him and watching him go to free agency. So
right.
The price there is obvious. They know that. The question is whether or not the Reds view him as somebody worth giving up a decent prospect to get, or they see a guy like Lance Lynn, who's having a terrible year right now, but has been really good for a long time. And Derek Johnson's sitting there just, scratching an itch saying, I know exactly what we need to do to fix him. We go get that guy. And everybody on the internet would be like, why didn't they go get somebody good? But they know something that we don't quite have the ability to identify from our couches over here. But still get a guy who potentially could give them a lot better performance than what they got, what he was showing before they went and got him. I think that's the market they'll probably be shopping in. I don't foresee them trading Noelvi Marte, one of their top prospects, to go out and get a guy for 3 or 4 years. in part because I just don't see a whole lot of teams that have pitchers with 3 or 4 years of team control really shopping those guys right now. Even the market last year, where the Reds kind of dictated it with Luis Castillo and Tyler Mahle having a year and a half of team control, there aren't a whole lot of those guys on the market right now either. And so I'm just not sure the Reds at this point of the rebuild are willing to empty the farm to go get a longer-term piece. But I do think they absolutely will be in the market for guys like Giolito at the right price, or a reclamation project like a Lance Lynn or a proven guy that they think they can get a little bit more out of than what he's shown so far this year.
You know what, though? I mean, talking about carrying 3 catchers, you got to believe that if there's going to be some sort of a deal, that one of those 3 guys could be going in the deal. And, you know, what is the value of Spencer Steer at this point? I mean, is he part of the future? What about Nick Senzel? I mean, aren't these the types of pieces that could be moving on?
Yeah, I think they certainly are, especially when you're talking about maybe trying to buy low on a pitcher out there who you know is better than what he's put up this year. Another team might see Nick Senzel as a guy who is finally excelling against left-handed pitching, and they might have been watching him for 2 years being like, hey, if this kid gets healthy, we know what the tweak in his swing needs to be. If we can just get that opportunity, we might go get him. Again, I think those are the kind of guys the Reds would look to move to get a functional piece back for this year. I don't think they're trying to cash in on any of the rookies right now or any of the guys that are really the higher profile prospects in the minor leagues, at least not now. That might be a this winter kind of move. But they've got to find starting pitching for sure. And as we all know, starting pitching doesn't come cheap. So it's either going to take a good prospect or it's going to take somebody off the big league roster. Senzel being the guy who's gotten squeezed out of a job and having a couple of years of team control left, he might be the prime guy to look at that the Reds might be shopping right now.
All right, got to leave it there. Wick, thanks for jumping on with us. I do appreciate it. Pick one. Rules are kind of explained in the title. In Pick One for each topic, 2 choices are given, and you must select one of them. Hence, you must pick one. Coop and I have 5 cents to pick one topics. We have not seen each other's Pick One selections. There are no correct answers. There are simply opinions. Honest responses are likely to result in hurt feelings that could jeopardize our friendship and working relationship, but we're willing to risk that for the sake of higher ratings. Let's get started. Coop, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I think so.
You know, you and I talked about this off the air yesterday, and I wanted to make it a Pick One topic. How about this story of the Australian sailor and his dog surviving for 3 months?
Oh, man.
Adrift in the Pacific. Timothy Shattuck and his dog Bella shockingly survived 3 months in the Pacific. The pair was rescued by a Mexican tuna boat around 1,200 miles from land. The crew treated the unlikely survivors and gave them food and hydration. They lived on raw fish and rainwater. So, pick one topic number 1, Coop. Would you prefer to be lost at sea or lost in the jungle? Please pick one.
I am not a good swimmer. I'm not overly, I don't have a great affinity for the water of any kind. Wouldn't catch me on a cruise. It's not like I have confidence that I would survive in the jungle. I just have confidence I would have a better chance on land. So I'm going to go with the jungle.
So you prefer to be lost in the jungle?
I mean, I don't prefer to be lost anywhere, but the ocean, I would just dive in the water and hope to be eaten. Like, I would just give up. I hate the water, man. I'm just not a big fan.
All right, here we go. Pick one topic number 2. Hot off their winter U.S. tour, Yes will embark on the classic Tales of Yes statewide trek this year.
Classic.
The voyage begins September 21st in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and will run until November 4th in Riverside, California. Better concert to see now. Better concert to see now. Yes or Jeff Lynne's ELO. Yes or Jeff Lynne's ELO. Please pick one.
So Jeff Lynne's ELO is basically just Jeff Lynne and studio musicians, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. I don't even know enough about it, but he's got there. At one point, there were a couple of electric light orchestras rolling around. This is the one he runs. Jeff Lynne's ELO or Yes?
You know what? I mean, I like Jeff Lynne a lot, but I don't know what all he's going to be doing during these shows. I'm going to go with Yes. I think I would like to see Yes as a full concert. I think that's where I'd prefer to go.
This was a really tough one.
That is a tough one. I agree. That is a tough one.
All right. Let's talk about fast food mascots.
Oh, I would love to.
Fast food mascots. So I didn't see the resurgence of Grimace coming.
Oh, me either.
I mean, Grimace may not even be the best McDonald's mascot.
Oh, he's definitely not the best McDonald's mascot. No way.
So let's talk about. So just making that clear that there are better fast food mascots than Grimace. We're aware of that, but I want you to go mano on mano with a couple of these and pick one. Better fast food mascot: Grimace or Little Caesar? Grimace or Little Caesar?
The pizza guy?
Yes.
I mean, the pizza guy. I don't get Grimace. I mean, honestly, although it's like iconic from my childhood, I mean, I get it. He was there in the McDonald's playground. For those of us that remember it, there would always be the Grimace on the sign, and he was in all the commercials, and he's been around forever. I mean, I know that Grimace is part of the fabric of our culture, but I don't get it. The pizza guy I get. Pizza.
Has there ever been an ad where Little Caesar says anything else?
Well, no, I think that's his point. I think that's just what he does. Is he does pizza.
I know, but I mean, we see Grimace. Grimace interacts with people. Grimace is he's a people person. He's a people fast food mascot.
I suppose. I've always found him to be a little threatening.
No. Until this latest ad, did you realize Grimace had teeth? Until when I saw the grills on Grimace, I was like, "Whoa, this is opening up a whole new world."
I don't know what it is about seeing this thing at this point in my life having a resurgence, but I didn't really care for it all that much.
Researching this, one of the things I found out. Did you know that Arby's used to have a mascot and it was an oven mitt? It was like a talking oven mitt. Maybe that's why Arby's is Arby's. Right?
Yeah, maybe that's why they have them. By the way, the Noid would be my tournament of champions.
We need to do a 2-hour car ride with these guys.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, better base for a breakfast sandwich. Better base for
bring it, man. Okay.
Better base for a breakfast sandwich. A bagel or an English muffin. Please pick one.
I like English muffins, but I like English muffins just with butter and to eat them, or butter and jelly, or butter and honey, or something like that, and just eat them. As a sandwich, regular-sized English muffins as a breakfast sandwich are too small, and they're not substantial enough. A bagel works much, much better. So I'm going to go with a bagel.
Going to go with a bagel?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a grilled bagel, even double plus.
All right. So, all the networks are scrambling, trying to figure out how they're going to fill programming.
Reality TV!
Yeah, reality TV. Well, a Magnum PI was on CBS. Now it's on NBC, and so they were planning on putting that on the air at some point in the spring. Now it's like, hey, we got to air it. So today NBC is announcing that they're moving it up on the schedule. So Magnum PI is going to be moving up a little earlier this year than we anticipated. So my question is, better rebooted program: Star Trek: The Next Generation or Cobra Kai? Better TV reboot: Next Gen or Cobra Kai? Please pick one.
It's a little hard for me to compare those. Cobra Kai is a direct sequel to the Karate Kid franchise. So all the characters are pretty much the same. You get to reintroduce them. So it's a little bit of a feeling, a different feeling when you watch that, because you're kind of waiting for people to be reintroduced. And I've only seen the first season of Cobra Kai as well. I liked it, but not as much as what some people do. I got to admit, I've always been a huge Next Generation fan. I mean, I've seen every episode. I used to record the episodes when they ran on Fox 11 back to back. I recorded the entire run and then edited out the commercials.
Nice.
And had them on VHS. I mean, that's how kind of hardcore I was. So this is purely me saying I'm a Trek guy. I love Next Generation, and really Cobra Kai didn't stand a chance here. I got to go with TNG.
All right. Finally, pick one topic number 5 from me. Better surprise find in the car. Better surprise find in the car: $10 or a wrapped sandwich. Better surprise find in your automobile: $10 or a wrapped sandwich.
This reminds me of our pepperoni roll discussions. And $10 don't even buy you a wrap sandwich anymore. So I think I got to go with the sandwich at this point.
No, see, I would have gone for the $10. I would have gone for the $10. All right, what do you got for me?
Okay, first of all, somebody who I think you have some affinity for, Lucinda Williams, has mapped out a run for her fall 2023 tour. And it's going to be in support of her latest album, Stories from Rock and Roll Heart. The Don't Tell Anybody The Secrets Tour is described as a multimedia experience in which Williams will both perform songs from throughout her discography and share stories and anecdotes with the audience. It kicks off on October 7th. Also touring in 2023, of course, is the boss, Bruce Springsteen. Which concert would you attend if given the choice? Lucinda Williams or Bruce Springsteen?
Oh, that's easy for me. It's easy for me because it's got to be Springsteen. Okay. But I will say this. This happens occasionally. I remember when I got a copy of Car Wheels on a Gravel Road.
Love that album.
That album is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't really like much of her other stuff, but I love that record. I have played that so many times. Every time I think about Lucinda Williams, I'm thinking, well, do I want to give her new stuff a try? No, I want to go back to this one album that I know all the way through, and I know all the... that album is so fantastic. But the question... Springsteen. Got to do it. I've never seen Springsteen.
You don't like Lucinda Williams quite as well as I thought you did. So I'll put that in my head. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
one album mostly.
Just one record.
We've talked about that album, and I thought you extrapolated that to her career. So I'll have to keep that in mind.
That song, Lake Charles.
Oh yeah, it's great.
I love that song.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Okay, question number 2 is about cheeseburgers. There's a slight controversy sometimes when it comes to cheeseburgers.
Okay.
Where can you put the cheese? Must the cheese go on the burger, or can the cheese go anywhere on the stack?
Well, McDonald's puts it on the top and the bottom, right?
They can on some of their burgers. I think the double cheeseburger they do.
Yeah. Hey, go for what you know. You know, it takes all kinds, right? Diversity is our strength. But for me, I mean, the top is where it goes.
Okay. Top, okay.
Yeah. Where do you fall on that?
Generally speaking, I want it melty, especially if it's American cheese, because I want it to get that kind of saucy, kind of texture to it by the time that I eat it. I mean, that's one of the benefits of it. I can see maybe if you're having a hot burger of some kind, and you want the cheese not to be melted, maybe you put it, above the pickles or something to slow it down some. But I don't know.
You know what?
I think on the burger. Yeah.
I had a Wendy's double recently, and I noticed as I wolfed it down that there is a slice of cheese on the bottom, and I just kind of noticed that as I just inhaled the thing.
Let's see. Question number 3. Okay, another music question. The Who has announced a 155-track compilation box set, Who's Next to Lifehouse, complete with a full graphic novel based on the band's long-shelved science fiction concept album called Lifehouse. Which artist would you rather read their graphic novel? Rush, the prog rock band, has a graphic novel adaptation of their album A Farewell to Kings, or Courtney Love, Hole's frontwoman, has co-created a manga series called Princess Ai about a character who is a musician and a princess from another dimension. Rush or Courtney Love?
All right, well, I got to stay with my brand. It's got to be Rush, right?
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah. I really don't have a problem with Courtney Love. There's probably like a greatest hits album of Courtney Love.
What about Rush or Who between those two?
Man, you know what? We got to have a serious conversation about the Who. This is probably not the format for it.
I got you.
But I think I still might go for Rush.
I get you. I got you. Okay. Question number 4. Okay. This is a format that I like to revisit from time to time. So, would you rather ride with Carrot Top to a Jeff Dunham stand-up or ride with Pauly Shore to a Carrot Top show?
Oh, you know what? I think I'd really rather go with Pauly Shore.
Yeah, I kind of wondered about that one. I really just wanted to throw the dig to Jeff Dunham in here, but
I know.
Pauly Shore seems like he'd be a hang, you know?
You know what? He is a guy who I've really got a lot more respect of because of social media. His social media is pretty cool.
Not bad. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, so, but
at the end of that, you have to watch Carrot Top in a 2-hour show.
That's true. So I'll ride with the Weasel, and we'll go see Carrot Top.
All right, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's 5.
Oh, man, and we brought it in almost on time.
I tell you, man.
We're having a good day. All right, we'll take a break. I'm getting to Jeff Erickson a little bit late because Coop and I had to have a serious discussion about the pitching coach ejection last night in the Blue Jays game. That was pretty amazing. Jeff Erickson from RotoWire joins me now. How you doing, Jeff?
Good, and I saw that live as it was happening after 2 hideous bad missed strike calls that were super impactful in that game, too, for Alek Manoah.
Yeah. Manoah last night went 3 innings, and that was it, through 90 pitches. 41 pitches in the first inning. He's still got some issues to work out. Jeff, I want to ask you, let's talk a little football here. So the big story nationally this week has been about devalued running backs, okay? Yep. Tony Pollard and Josh Jacobs and, of course, Saquon. Are running backs undervalued in fantasy football now?
In fantasy football, not as much. I mean, but in real life football, obviously, that's a bigger discussion. But fantasy football, I mean, all politics are local. I mean, some of it has to do with the structure of your league and like the rules and the positions that you start, and just how the league reacts to it. There, I did a broadcast of a draft on Monday night where I think we saw 17 of the first 28 players drafted were all running backs. So you still see leagues where they pound the running backs, but in other leagues, maybe it's a little bit of a push down a little bit. I found waiting on running backs can be a profitable strategy. I like to get one, fill my other positions, and then try to go volume for the second spot.
Gotcha. Well, okay, so you've done a couple of drafts. So leading up to the start of camp in the next few days, where is Dalvin Cook going in these drafts?
He is all over the map, Dave. I've seen him as early as like the 4th round. I've seen him go as like the 7th round. Honestly, I'm probably not going to be too big on because I think wherever he lands, he's not going to be the sole guy. I think the days of him being like a feature back, being a top first round player for sure, even the second round player are long gone. Just looking at the latest ADP data, see where he's been going in the NFFC. That's always a good guide for me because it's people pay good money for those leagues, so the draft data that you get is pretty accurate, or at least serious. And maybe not accurate, but at least it's serious. Average pick there since July 1st is 51 overall, but a range of 21 to 95. Wow. Anybody else in his pick range, doesn't have as wide of a bar. So I think that's noteworthy. If you look at it just among running backs, that puts him at running back 17. After Aaron Jones, before Joe Mixon, I expect that to flip-flop. I think Mixon will go up now that he's re-signed, restructured his deal with the Bengals. That pretty much ensures that, he's going to be the lead guy for them this year. And, he might have a suspension forthcoming, but other than that, there's no other threat to playing time for Mixon.
All right, one more question about Dalvin Cook. Say, for example, that the latest rumors are true, that he'll go to the Patriots. Well, if he goes to the Pats, Belichick runs a committee. That would kill Cook, his fantasy value, right?
Not to mention Ramondre Stevenson, too.
Right.
It helps nobody. And for that matter, Leonard Fournette was spotted there working out for the Pats today. So that seems like they're pretty hell-bent on adding some veteran running back to go in that room. And it'll be kind of like last year where we saw the timeshare between Stevenson and Harris. When both were healthy, it was kind of a crapshoot who was the guy in a given week.
All right, since you got the chart out, you still got the chart out for running backs and average draft position? Okay, let's talk a little bit about Breece Hall. So, the new look Jets, their defense is going to be good. Aaron Rodgers is the new hot gun in town. Breece Hall was great last year, getting acclimated to the NFL before he got hurt, averaged almost 6 yards a carry. Where is Breece Hall amongst the running backs?
So before he got hurt is the critical phrase, though, Dave, because it was a massive injury, a torn ACL. We don't know if he'll be ready for week 1. It happened in week 7. They've said a lot of positive things. They've said the right things, but, I'd be more alarmed if they didn't. But they also are rumored to be in the Dalvin Cook business, too. So, I mean, what they do and what they say might, be two different things. And I'd see if they don't bring anybody in, then I feel a lot better about Breece Hall. Currently, he's running back 13 in the last month, which puts him at pick 39, basically, overall, 4th-round pick. Fair. I mean, he's got first-round upside. He's also got a massive downside, too, coming back to that. I'm pretty much a wait till year 2 on running backs coming back from a torn ACL. Usually don't like to take them in that first year back.
All right, since you got the chart out, let's just do one more running back. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara of the Saints. Sure. I mean, I've had him the last couple of years, and I thought, he catches balls out of the backfield. He was a solid player. Now he's had some off-the-field problems. I think he's got that all worked out. But, I mean, last year was kind of a fantasy bust. What about Kamara this year?
Two risk factors here. Legal action may be wrapped up, but that doesn't mean his discipline issues are gone. I think that the NFL is going to give him a suspension. I would bet on 4 games. upwards to 6. I've heard ranges anywhere between 2 and 6. 2 to 6 is what the range I've heard of. But, it's just a guess at this point in time. We'd like to hear word come down pretty soon from the NFL. I know they were waiting for the legal issues to be ironed out first before they fully laid down the hammer. But I think a suspension is forthcoming. It's just a question of how long. To that point, I don't want to draft him as my second running back. He's running back 31 right now. But wide range. Average pick is 93, but a range of 57 to 127. I'm close to the 127 part.
All right, got about 45 seconds here. This has happened since I talked to you last week. DeAndre Hopkins is now with the Titans.
Yes.
What's that mean for his fantasy value? Do you like him in Tennessee?
I would have liked him better elsewhere. The positive, he'll be the number one option for a veteran cornerback in Ryan Tannehill. The negative is it's the team that doesn't throw the ball a whole lot, and a quarterback that's on the decline. 5th round, sure, I could see it now, but I wouldn't go any higher than that.
All right, got to leave it there. Jeff, thanks for coming on as always, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. All right, Abrar al Heeti joins me now to talk about the biggest stories in tech over the last 7 days. She comes to us from CNET to talk about tech. Abrar, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm trying to digest these Netflix numbers. So they're reporting after the bell, and I think this is pretty interesting, that most estimates looked for Netflix to add almost 2.1 million subscribers in Q2. Instead, they added almost 5.9 million subscribers in Q2. And I just wonder, if I was listening to the conference call, they might be able to give us some numbers on this. But I'm guessing a lot of that probably has to do with them cracking down on password sharing.
I would say that is probably an accurate assessment, because they have been, ever since their numbers drastically dropped last year, they've kind of been in a scramble to figure out how do we change that. And it looks like they're kind of doing the right thing, as much as annoying as it is as a consumer. As a company, it seems to be working. So definitely cracking down on password sharing. It forces people to sign up for their own accounts, and then all these other changes. So for example, I have the basic subscription. I'm like, I want to pay the least amount and not get ads. It looks like I'm going to have to hold on to that subscription for as long as I can, because Netflix just killed it.
I know.
So this is kind of another really big change. So if you want to get a Netflix account, you either have to get the ad-supported version, or you get the standard or premium version. And the basic one that I have is the $10 a month subscription. So again, they're getting more money out of you by forcing you to either watch advertisements, and then they get money from the advertisements, or to pay more for a standard or premium account.
I just retweeted right before the top of the hour a story that I saw that every time I read it, it's still amazing. That in the year 2000, Netflix wanted to sell itself to Blockbuster for $50 million, and Blockbuster laughed at them. Netflix now generates $50 million every 12 hours.
It's like you can only laugh, I think, because it's just such a funny twist of fate, isn't it?
Yeah. Here's the other thing. I saw your story, the stories that you sent that we were going to talk about today, and I knew that my wife had just changed my Netflix subscription, and I said, do we have the $10 a month thing? And she goes, no, we've got the $15 a month. We're right there in the middle. But I guess we don't change for a couple more weeks, and once we get into the sales period for August.
Yeah. And what's so funny is yesterday, so because I have the cheaper version, I was thinking about this, because with the password sharing, it's only, available for like standard or premium. And so I was like, what are they going to do with the basic tier? And now I know what they're going to do with the basic tier. They're killing it off. But I was almost tempted the other day, because somebody else was watching on my account, and I was like, do I want to upgrade to the 2 screens and get the standard? I'm glad I didn't, because I never would have been able to go back to the $10 a month. So I'm gonna hold on as long as I can.
All right. So let me ask you this. So you're already on the $10 plan, right? So you're going to hold on to that with your little fingers as long as you can.
That's the plan, yeah.
But the $10 plan is still high def, right?
I believe it is. Yeah, I believe it is. And then you still get mobile downloads, which is really the big selling point for me too. And I don't watch Netflix as much as I, could really. So that's kind of why I opt for kind of that cheaper option. It's not that frequent that I feel like, my mom and I are trying to watch at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny. There are times that I'm just totally avoiding Netflix, and then other times I'm watching a lot of stuff, and I'm kind of going through a period now where I'm watching it more than I have in a while. Let's talk a little bit about Amazon Prime Day, because we did a couple of segments about this. The one thing that just absolutely blows me away is that On day one of Prime Day, they shipped 375 million items. We're not talking about $375 million. We're talking about 375 million items. That's crazy.
It is. It seems like it was a hit. I mean, given the numbers that are coming out, I think, people were, coming out of the pandemic is slowly, it's officially over. We're kind of getting back into normal life. People are, it's also just kind of surprising given the economic situation that we're in, though, because we weren't sure. I remember you and I were discussing, do we think it's going to be, a big Prime Day because of all the economic uncertainty? Apparently it was. So
yes.
Here we are.
Yeah, they sold more stuff in this Prime Day than ever before. And you sent me a link that's got the most bought items. That is really crazy. You wouldn't be able to guess the top thing if I gave you all day. You wouldn't be able to guess this.
You'd never be able to guess it. But it was shockingly, Temptation cat treats. It was a big Prime Day for the cats. They got their treats.
What?
That was the number one item. And, it's funny because, one of the things that we were talking about here at CNET was buy your household essentials, buy your batteries, buy your toilet paper. It never crossed my mind to think, buy your cat treats. But that's what everybody was doing, apparently. Yeah,
the other stuff that's in the top 5 is kind of the stuff we would expect. Like Amazon Fire Sticks is number 2, Echo Dots number 3, indoor plug-in security cameras number 5. But the Temptation cat treats at the top of this list gives you a little bit of an insight into Amazon, man. They know what you want to buy. And that tells me that there are a lot of people out there that not only do they buy a lot of stuff at Amazon, it may be primarily where they shop.
Yeah, I think this was the time where people stocked up. I think the pandemic actually trained a lot of people to just order your stuff on Amazon. If we weren't going to the grocery stores to buy our everyday essentials, we were buying them on Amazon. And I think that became a habit. And so when something like Prime Day comes around, you say, oh my God, I know I need this. Let me just get it right now. And so, yeah, that's why you have cat treats at the top. And the reason why you have the Amazon tech items, below that is because the Amazon products were steeply discounted. That's where you would get the best prices. So they figured out that if they discount their own products, you're going to buy them. And if they discount your household essentials, you're going to buy them.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Elon Musk, because I think technically we have to talk about him in every tech news segment. Let's or refer to him in some form or fashion. So he's launched an artificial intelligence company, XAI. What do we need to know about this?
XAI is still a bit of a mystery, but basically in the most Elon Musk way, he says that the goal is to, quote, understand the true nature of the universe. So whatever that means.
What?
So, it's too soon to say. But one of the things that we do know is that it's very likely that this will be integrated with his many other companies, with Tesla, with Twitter. He's mentioned using tweets, like public tweets, to kind of train this AI and really just kind of leverage these companies that he already has in the palm of his hands. But he's been obsessed with AI. I mean, he's one of the people who actually spoke out against the rapid development of AI and said we need to slow down, but he's also somebody who's been obsessed with it. So it's, it's been reported for a while that he's launching a ChatGPT rival, so maybe we'll see something like that. But we really don't know a lot yet, and it's been very intentionally cryptic so far.
You know what, though? I mean, this is beginning to be a very, very crowded space, right? I mean, Microsoft got the lead, but Google has a ton of people working on this. Now we're hearing how it's going to affect Amazon and Apple. This is getting to be a crowded space. This kind of reminds me, just from a financial angle, a little bit like the .com situation right before the boom and bust in '99. I mean, everybody's promising A&I, but I need to see some numbers here. I need to see some money.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a very valid point. And I think the other thing too is, as consumers, we need to know, how is this going to help us, and not necessarily just be this terrifying looming thing that's just seems like it's taking over the world. And I think that's what's missing here, is how can companies make it feel like this is something that can be useful in my everyday life, and doesn't feel like something that's going to take over my job and like completely destroy my life. And so it's this big scary thing that everyone's hopping on, and it's still this big mystery, but yeah, it's happening so quickly.
All right, ChatGPT also, the maker of ChatGPT OpenAI. Now they're the target of an FTC probe. What's that about?
That's right. So the FTC is basically requesting more information related to data privacy. And also the thing that's interesting for me is reputational harm. So as we know, ChatGPT doesn't always give you the most accurate information. And sometimes it makes things up about people, about events. And so one of the things that the FTC is wanting to find out about is just more information about any complaints related to misleading or disparaging statements about people. And I think that's really interesting because, again, if the information is false, it's terrible. But if it's about you and it's false, that's also terrible. So it's going to be interesting to see what kinds of information we could potentially get out of this probe and what we might learn about what was used to train ChatGPT and any, harm that's resulted from it.
All right, starting to wind down with Abrar al Heeti, talking about the biggest stories in tech. She joins us every Wednesday at the top of the 4 o'clock hour to talk about the biggest stories in tech over the last 7 days. Hey, as we run this down, how are you doing with your Threads account? How's that going?
I still check it regularly. I know there's a lot of discussion about, are we still doing this? Are people still on here? I think the one thing that I'm really waiting for is a following page so that I can stop getting a bunch of random accounts on my feed. And I think once that happens, and I think once the edit button comes out, which I know is also, Mosseri said that that's coming, I think those two things will help it kind of be stable.
All right. Now, are the majority of your friends, have they transitioned over to this rival of Twitter?
In the beginning, it was this big surge where everybody was joining, and I feel like it's plateaued. I feel like I haven't seen as many people join. So that's I'm sure that's a point of concern for a lot of people over at Instagram Threads, but it definitely has slowed down.
All right. Well, we'll keep watching this. Abrar, thanks for coming on as always. Lots of great stuff. We'll do this again next week. Have a good week. Adam, before we talk about Mountain Stage, we've got to talk about Regatta Slamboree.
I haven't seen you since the Sternwell Slamboree. Yeah. That's right, the first ever.
So let's talk about it. How did it go?
Oh man, I feel like it went really, really well. I just talked to 2 people that stopped me at breakfast this morning who told me what a great time they had. They weren't expecting it. Their kids loved it. Tons of great feedback. And as I said to you, I'm not usually the first one to brag about anything I get done, but this could not have gone any better. I think we got perfect weather. The mayor got involved. We crowned the first ever regatta champion. And then there was a bunch of controversy. We actually ended up having another regatta championship match, and the title changed hands on the same day that the first champion was awarded. Bishop Baylor executed a contractual stipulation that gave him a match. And sure enough, he won the title. So now he's the longest reigning regatta champion of all time.
Man, controversy in pro wrestling.
Can you imagine?
I would have never imagined.
What? And I didn't even see this coming. We had a proposal in ring during the Sternwell Slamboree. Man, wrestling is for everyone. And we had a great crowd, a diverse crowd, all sizes, shapes, and colors down there enjoying some professional wrestling. It was so invigorating for me. It was rewarding for me and everybody that worked so hard. We had our first meeting November 21st.
Did you get a guesstimate on the crowd?
Yeah. The CVB has a company they actually hire. I think it's called Showalter and Associates that estimates crowd functions from aerial shots. And they said over the course of our 3 hours, they estimated we had 1,500 people.
Man, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Now,
beer sales were great. And the mayor had a great time. She texted me after and said how successful she thought it was. So that was the ultimate reward.
So you have created a monster. Now you're going to have to do it again.
We're going to try to do 4 shows a year, I think.
Really?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, Regatta Pro Wrestling is going to be a thing. And we're going to do it all throughout town. And I think our major event is going to be the Sternwell Slamboree every July. It's going to be our WrestleMania. It'll be our SummerSlam.
That is fantastic.
I'm excited, yeah.
So I'm assuming since Mountain Stage doesn't have any shows this month that you're probably getting a lot of sleep.
Yeah, that's right. You see me now. I'm in my flip-flops and my shorts and my tank top and my straw hat. I've just been relaxing. No, we were actually getting ready to go to Sonoma County, California, which is really cool, an amazing invite to get. It's not like we called them up and said, hey, they actually expressed interest in us. We're partnering with the public radio station up there in Northern California, which actually just expanded its signal, which I think is a big deal about part of the reason we're going up there. And so this week we've got a logistic company coming to pick up a bunch of gear. We've got about 10,000 pounds of gear that we're going to ship out there. We looked into renting a certain amount of stuff. It was going to be about the same costs wise. And so we said we should take our stuff then maybe. And so we've hired a company, and this is what they do is they deliver gear for productions like ours. And so they're coming on, I think, Wednesday the 2nd, and they're going to drop it back off on Wednesday the 9th. So our gear is only going to be gone 7 days.
Well, that's interesting. That was going to be my next question. question about, the logistics. It's one thing to do a show in like Athens, Ohio.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. Hour and a half down the road.
Yeah, but it's a whole different deal when you go to Sonoma, right? I mean,
totally.
So who do you have to hire on the other end?
You mean artist-wise or for the logistics and
just
stuff?
Logistics.
Yeah, it's a company, Landstar is the company that we've hired to get our gear out there. It's a well-known company. They're a major company. And then we, obviously we had to book our travel through the state. Because that's being paid through public broadcasting, and there was a travel stipend that we were paid from the venue to help cover the cost of the flights. And then we had to secure our own hotel rooms this time. Usually we ask for that to be provided. On the road shows, that becomes kind of a negotiation, and this time they decided to buy that part out. And so we did have to find our own hotel room, which thankfully we did. There's an Enterprise location right across the street, so we're going to pick up a car when we get there. And then, and we had to look for a vehicle large enough to transport about 20 people and luggage from the airport about 60 hours north from San Francisco. So we got, I forget what the exact term for it is, but it's a bus of some sort that carries, it's meant for airport transportation.
So, this is a work trip. Yeah. It's a work trip. It's not you're going out. You're not going to wine country.
That's right. I am. I'm going to wine country with 25 of my closest coworkers.
That's right.
Yeah. No, it's work for us. It's fun for everybody too. But it's not like a paid vacation or anything.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the acts that are going to be on that show.
And
what is the date?
It's Sunday, August the 6th, and it's in Rohnert Park, California, at the Green Music Center. And this is an amazing venue. It seats 1,500 people inside, but they can open up the back wall, and their plan is to do that. And it seats another 3,000 in the lawn. And so talk about wine country. This is going to be a beautiful Sonoma County venue. We've got Booker T. Jones, the Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, from Booker T and the MGs. He's got his own 4-piece band that he does a review of a lot of the classic Stax stuff, but also some of his newer material. He's done a record produced by Patterson Hood of the Drive-By Truckers. They did a whole album backing Betty LaVette. Lots of cool collaborations in Booker T's career. He produced the first Bill Withers albums, as you know.
So Booker T. Jones cannot do a show without playing Green Onions, right?
I would think not.
He's got to play that.
I would think not. Matter of fact, I would think sometimes he might start and end with it.
Well, he has a couple other versions. He's got Green Onions, which is a massive hit. Then he's got like a song that's kind of the same song called Mo
Onions. That's right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what a blessing to have a hit like that. I'm sure he would say the same thing. It's just like it's ingrained in American culture. It's incredible and really cool to have him be able to join us out there. We also added Carla Bonoff, which I know you talked to Kathy Mattea about last week.
I said this to Kathy. How many backup singers do you know by name?
Right.
And she was one of them.
That's right.
When she backed up Linda Ronstadt in the 70s.
And Ronstadt, one of the most iconic vocalists of all, but yet all of her albums have a ton of great harmony and stuff. So to be able to deliver that live, you got to know Carla Bonoff is at the top of the heap when it comes to vocalists.
I think there's a couple of those old Ronstadt albums that have photos of her.
It may be. I didn't look that up. I heard you say it last week, and I was like, I wonder if she was on any of the albums too. Carla, an amazing career of her own. We added Steve Poltz and also Chris Smither, wonderful acoustic blues guy, which I know is going to be so cool to hear outdoors in wine. Well, it's not really outdoors, but kind of outdoors in wine country. But also, we just added Amber Rubarth, and that's who I think I sent to you. And I love Amber. She's been on the show a few times over the years. She never does the same thing twice. And this latest album is her putting her own voice on a selection of different cover songs that she loves. And I think I sent REM.
Yeah, Losing My Religion.
Love this song.
Let's have some of this, Coop.
Whole life is bigger. It's bigger than you, and you are not me. The lengths that I will go to, the distance in your eyes. Oh no, I said too much. I set it up. That's me in the corner.
That's so nice.
Isn't it nice?
Right?
I mean, it's almost a different song.
Me in the spot.
I wanted to also talk about you've got a program in Morgantown that'll be on October 15th. Now, the last show in Morgantown, Was it the weather? Was it COVID? What
That's right. No, it actually wasn't COVID. We were still canceling shows into January 22, I think, but it was a snowstorm that came through, and we had to cancel the show for the audience, but all the artists made it there, and it was funny. Well, not funny. It was just a wild day, but one of our artists was concerned about a COVID exposure, and they all did like a drive-through test on their way to the venue and got there right before the snow hit, and like all the bands made it there. And so we ended up, and we'd had some practice doing shows without an audience because of the pandemic. And and so even our last show in Morgantown, that's right. I think we went back with Janice Ian one time.
Okay.
So we did have an audience for Janice Ian, if I'm remembering that right. But this is our first time in Morgantown in a few years now because they've been doing renovations to the Creative Arts Center. And so we're stoked to be back in Morgantown Sunday, October the 15th. Tickets are on sale for their subscribers now, but the tickets, I think, go on sale August 25th. And we've got the Vince Herman Band. We confirmed Larry and Joe, which is a cool acoustic duo that features Spanish and American singing. And we just added Kat Wright. We're going to announce her tomorrow. So we've added 3 artists to that bill already.
All right, good deal. Got to leave it there.
Cool.
Coop, let's play it out with little Vince Herman.
Nice.
Enjoy the Ride is the song. That show is in Morgantown on October 15th. Adam, good to see you, man.
Appreciate you, Dave.
Anytime you can come by. We love having you.
See you next time.
All right, let's go ahead and get to a break. Entertainment Report's coming next.
Wrap your arms around my waist, leave behind your sorrow. I was made for the road.
But let me get Pat Strader in here because it's time to talk about beer and the craft beer industry. Pat, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dave. Happy Beer Friday.
So you're back in the WV after being on the West Coast last weekend. You saw the last ever show for Dead & Company. What was that experience like before we get into the beer?
Man, it was awesome. It was just a great weekend. By the way, on Friday night, Dave, they did play your Fire on the Mountain.
Fire on the Mountain. Fire.
Yeah.
Fire on the Mountain.
Yeah, it was amazing. And they did, if anybody wants to go and just like search Twitter or Google for a drone light show, it just was unreal.
Was it really emotional after the concert was over?
I mean, it was just like very, and this sounds so cheesy and corny and like some hippie kind of crap, Dave, but I mean, like, you could just feel the energy, it was just, people were just having fun being themselves. It was really awesome.
All right, let's get into the beer business, and we got good news about Greenbrier Valley. Give me the details on that.
Yeah, we absolutely do, and this has probably been one of the worst kept secrets over the last couple of weeks, but it's really awesome to see this happening. And that is that Greenbrier Valley is going to be coming back under new ownership. Josh Bennett, who is the owner of Hawk Knob Cidery, which is also over there in Lewisburg, has confirmed that they are going to be purchasing the brewery and the assets. This, I got to give credit to Charles Bachway. He's got a great article on this. There was a couple of other folks that were, kind of really sniffing this story out early. But this is just really great news. They're going to be back in production. They say as soon as 6 weeks, Dave, but they're going to be starting out with the Devil Ants, Wild Trail, Mothman, and the Braxy, that blonde ale. So really great news. Great news.
That is fantastic. Now, you were on hold. You probably heard our question of the day, which had a little bit to do with this story about Anchor Brewing Company, and the unionized workers want to try to purchase the company and operate it as a co-op. What do you think the probability of success is for that?
Well, it's not unheard of. New Belgium Brewery is employee owned. I know that there's some others as well, but I saw this story and I thought it was really fascinating and kind of dovetailing on, this Greenbrier Valley story about, okay, there's still tremendous value here, that other folks are seeing and trying to keep these breweries open and alive. I would love to see Anchor continue to produce beer, and I certainly hope that they can pull this off.
All right. Foam at the Dome. It was postponed, and now it's happening this weekend.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot just over the last couple of weeks, but I just wanted a friendly reminder for everybody that tomorrow is Foam at the Dome. You can visit their Facebook page. There's lots of different, you just Google Foam at the Dome and you'll find it if you want to buy some tickets, but I just wanted to make sure that that's on everybody's radar.
Yeah, there you go. So Foam in the Dome is on, and it is this weekend. All right, let's talk about the Peddler. We've got some news there.
Yeah, the Peddler has re-released Coconut Speedboat, which is just a fun name, but this is a coconut and pineapple wheat ale. They call this a classic combination, but it's just not something that you see that often. But it is back out, perfect for I think a warm summer day, which I know that we're going to be having quite a few of those coming up. But yeah, so the Peddler has Coconut Speedboat is back on tap.
Hey, you ready for a couple of questions from listeners?
Yeah, sure. Hit me, Dave.
All right, here's one, 304-541, talking about Foam in the Dome. Here's a listener who wants to know if you're going to be there, Pat.
You know what? I'm not going to make it down there. I've been traveling. I'm heading out to Cleveland next week. I got a lot of stuff to take care of around the house. So.
All right. Here's another. This is a tweet from Matthew, one of our regular listeners. He says, Dave, most beer guys are also bourbon guys. He wants to know if you're a bourbon guy, Pat.
I'm equal opportunity, Dave, and I definitely,
nice.
I definitely love my bourbon. That is for sure.
There you go. All right. We've also got some news about High Ground. Let's get into that.
This is awesome. I absolutely love this. But High Ground has released You Rang. I feel like I should be trying to do my Lurch voice there, but this is a beer that they have produced for Lurch Fest 2023, which maybe some of you may be like, what is Lurch Fest? But this is just so awesome. A festival that they're having in Philippi. It's celebrating Ted Cassidy for all of us that remember him playing Lurch in the Addams Family. But this is a Brut IPA. So, kind of a hoppy, dry finish, they describe it as a champagne quality, but the label art is fantastic, and I just love the story behind this. So keep an eye out for High Ground. You Rang.
Now, Ted Cassidy, when he lived in Philippi for a while, and Coop, every year on his birthday in the On This Date file, we always play, he sang the song You Rang from American Bandstand.
You rang.
You rang.
Yeah, I can't even get anywhere near that.
I know.
Right.
So, hey, that's pretty good. So that's going to be happening. Lurch Fest, High Ground, releasing You Rang. And we got some news to wrap this up about brew keepers.
Yeah, and this is really cool. Another kind of sense of place kind of story with this, but they have released what they call the Central Market Radler, and it has a really cool story around it. This is related to the Grandview Mountain Bike Challenge, which is, a mountain biking park that's up there near Wheeling. So this is, it's a Radler, which is a very classic style of that mixes lemonade with a wheat ale. So, and it's a very traditional German style of beer that a lot of folks that are riding their bikes through the countryside, this is the kind of beers that they'll stop and have. But this is just a really cool story. And if you've never had a Radler before, it's really a fantastic summer beer. So keep an eye out for Central Market Radler. I think, actually, Dave, I know you're going to have to go to the tap room to get this, but who else? I don't need an excuse to go to Wheeling and Central Market, but this is it.
Hey, let me ask you about your mountain bike, Pat. I mean, if you go back to the early days of our segment together, how many segments did we do where you literally pulled off the trail and then called us from your bike?
Quite a few. And, Dave, we've been doing this a long time, and my joints have not really been very cooperative.
Nice. Hey, before we wrap this up, I want to go back to the Dead and Company. You saw their final shows last week. Well, you took your daughter out there. What did she think?
Well, she's been to a couple shows with me before. We've been up to Star Lake and, some things like that. But it was just, it was just a great scene. It was super fun. And, it's just one of those things you have to experience it. And we had an awesome time.
Hey, you have any idea how many people were there for the last show? And do you think it's really the last show?
Well, I mean, for that iteration, probably so. Bob Weir's already announced a whole nother fall tour, though. So, I mean, Bobby's going to play till literally the day that he dies. He's going to be playing somewhere. But it was absolutely slam packed. It was just wall to wall.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're home safe. So what's in your hand or what will be there soon?
Nothing at the moment. I'm going to go down, stick my hand in the cooler. I'm sure that I've got some weathered ground sitting down there. So I'm not exactly sure yet, but I'm going to go find something to sit on the porch with.
All right. Well, head down to the garage and at least take a look at your old mountain bike for old time's sake.
I'll get dusted off for you, Dave.
Hey, Pat, great stuff, man. Have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you next Friday at 4:33. Guys, you want me to start?
Why don't you?
Okay.
You always short yourself.
Yeah, I don't get a chance to start very often. But I saw this story, and I thought it was pretty interesting. CNBC today, the financial channel, with kind of a major sports leagues in as minority investors. Imagine the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball as minority partners for ESPN. ESPN has held preliminary discussions with the NFL, NBA, and MLB about a variety of new partnerships and investment structures. In a statement, the NBA says, quote, "We've had a long relationship with Disney. We look forward to continuing the discussions around the future of our partnership," unquote. Spokespeople for ESPN, for the NFL, and the MLB have declined comment. Guys, buy or sell. For ESPN, this is a really good idea. Bringing in pro sports leagues as minority partners is a good idea for ESPN. Buy or sell.
It seems to me that this would be the best possible way to kind of smooth out some of their coverage of things, possibly. You know, I haven't watched ESPN for anything other than a game I want to check out in probably 15 years, if not more. I don't watch SportsCenter. I don't watch any of their shows. I don't watch a single thing on ESPN. Some people got mad at the politics. I didn't even really care about that. I just found it boring. And they're overloaded with certain sports. Too much NBA, in my opinion. You know, NFL is never resting. You know, they don't cover enough baseball. They don't cover enough hockey. You know, you don't get enough of this stuff. So, by minority ownership, what leagues?
MLB. I mean, I think they're talking to all the big,
like everything,
all the
right?
big boys. They're
That's
talking
what it
about
means.
the NFL, the NBA, and MLB. The NHL is not mentioned in this story.
I honestly think that this is. I mean, I don't know exactly how it would shake out, but at first blush, thinking about how this could work from affiliates, I think it's a great idea. Yeah. I mean, it might help solve some of our issues.
Now, how the other media companies would feel about this, probably not very well. And it is also mentioned in the article that ESPN employs hundreds of journalists that cover these leagues. If you are selling an ownership stake in the leagues, that could cloud the perception of objectivity. But, Coop, you just said it, man. You don't even watch these shows. You just watch the games.
Yeah, if that. I mean, seriously, I cannot watch the last time that I watched ESPN for anything other than probably a WVU game of some kind.
All right.
Or a Reds game on baseball tonight.
Jarett, what do you think? How do you feel about this? The idea that ESPN bringing in major pro sports league as minority partners is a good idea.
Coop makes a lot of good points, and because I'm the same way. Like with ESPN, I only watch it if there's like a major game going on, like a national championship type of game. I used to wake up, and before I got on the school bus, the first thing I would watch was SportsCenter.
Sure,
like, it was just nonstop highlights, and you had the top 10, you had the not top 10, which is even better. Those are the good old days of SportsCenter. And you had, Neil Everett, Stan Verrett, just that duo nonstop all the time. And that's really gone away. I don't watch any shows on ESPN. I couldn't even tell you who has shows anymore. There's been so much turnover and so much, stuff that they've been editing around with personalities that, this is a really interesting move. I don't know how they came up with this, but it is kind of interesting. I think it's a fine idea, and it's kind of like, why not? Let's try this out, see if it works, see if we can kind of get ESPN, get the whole network back to what it used to be.
I'm not sure what's really in this for the leagues. That's going to be worked out, I would imagine, at some point. All right, Jarett, you're next. What do you got?
Okay, cool. So this story actually broke earlier this year, and it's under construction, and I got this idea actually from my mom. She brought this up. So this is about a theme park in Arizona. Now, it's still under construction, and it's planned to open in 2024, next year. It's the Mattel Adventure Park. So the Arizona, they say it's 15 miles west of downtown Phoenix. It's near State Farm Stadium, where the Cardinals play. So it's a theme park kind of with those, toys that they've already made that I just mentioned, the Hot Wheels, Thomas the Train also, and Barbie. That will be featured in the theme park, and then there's also an outdoor concert venue. They'll have hotels and plenty of other entertainment-related type things. It's a 9-acre park with over 160,000 square feet of air-conditioned space, which is really important for this buy or sell. So, again, it's planned to open next year. They're still under construction, yada, yada. So, buy or sell, attending a theme park in extreme heat. So, I mean, it's been reported the past couple of weeks, this whole month, this whole summer, how crazy Phoenix and just all across Arizona, temperatures above 100 degrees, around 110 degrees. Buy or sell a theme park in extreme heat.
I'm going to buy this idea. I think Mattel's actually having a moment right here. Obviously, with the Barbie movie this weekend. Boy, Barbie's beach house, man. I sure hope that thing is air conditioned. It better be, right?
I'm sure you can buy an accessory if not.
You take a look at the line of toys that Mattel has the rights for. I mean, you're going to have, after this Barbie movie, we know there's going to be a Hot Wheels movie.
I was going to say, you got to go Hot Wheels, right?
You've got the Jack in the Box, so you've got Rock'em Sock'em Robots, I think. There's going to be an entire, they're already building it. There's going to be an entire structure of Mattel-based films. So I think this makes a lot of sense. I'm going to buy it. I'm in.
Yeah, I think it's. I will. Speaking about the heat, I will remember when I used to go to amusement parks when I was kind of a pudgy young lad,
right?
Or maybe more than pudgy young man. There was nothing worse than getting the chafed legs. If you've never been overweight, that when you go to an amusement park and you have the idea, I'm going to get on the water slide first, or the log ride or whatever, and then you're walking around all day in massive heat and you got the chafed legs and you can't. It was a killer. I haven't been to an amusement park since I lost all that weight. I would like to know what it's like to walk around and not have to worry about those things, to be honest with you. So yeah, I want to be in. I want to go.
Could you, in your business plan, could you put the chafed legs thing in like a pie chart, please?
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
Hey, look, you might laugh, but if you're a little overweight out there, you've been to an amusement park, you are right there with me right now, because it is absolutely torture. My legs don't even touch anymore. I want to see what it's like. I want to go walk around when it's hot and ride a Hot Wheels car. So yeah, I'm good. I'm in. Cool. I buy that.
Jarett, I like that idea. All right, Coop, what do you got?
All right, I was casually watching some highlights the other night of baseball, and they were getting to Ohtani and showing some Ohtani highlights. And so I think they intercut the radio call for the Angels, and the play-by-play guy said something that kind of caught my ear. And at first I was a little bit shocked and disgusted, and then after a moment, the greatest baseball player ever. And I was like, oh, come on. I mean, recency bias. This guy's only been playing professional ball for a few years. There's no way you could And then I thought for a minute, he didn't say the best batter ever, didn't say the best pitcher ever, said the best professional baseball player ever. After I thought about it for a few minutes, I don't know what's going to happen with the rest of his career. I have a hard time arguing with it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Buy or sell? Shohei Ohtani, the best baseball player ever.
I think at this moment I'm going to have to sell that. Mm-hmm. And the reason is, there's no argument that the stats he's putting up this season are just unbelievable. I mean, he's chasing Aaron Judge, what he did, home runs, what he's doing on the mound is amazing. But you just have to look at the longevity of the career. I mean, Shohei's had some injury issues. We don't know how much longer he's going to pitch. Babe Ruth hit over 700 home runs. Babe Ruth also had a lot of games that he performed in ultimate pressure situations, World Series games. So I think it's a little early to say that Shohei Ohtani is the best baseball player ever, although what he's doing now is kind of unprecedented. But in terms of the body of work, I don't think you can call him the best
How many
ever.
Seasons of being is it being one or the other? I don't know what the answer is. Is it 7? If he's elite 7 years on both counts, I don't know. What do you think, Jarett?
Oh man, yeah. I think he will be, honestly. But is that something that you can really say right now at this moment?
It's so tough because you look at the guy. I know. I agree with what Dave said too. But when you look at it, it's kind of hard to say.
It's crazy.
It's amazing. What do you?
And his pitching ability is, dang near as good as how he is as a hitter. Like, he is equally as great at both spots. I think the trajectory he's on now, and the injuries are a huge key here too. If he doesn't go down a track that kind of Mike Trout has been going down, then I think no doubt about it, he could be the greatest baseball player ever. But to say that right now that's kind of like saying, Wembanyama hasn't even played an NBA game yet, but people are, when it's all said and done.
It's awful tough if he continues this trajectory to argue with that. It's incredible what he's doing. He's doing things like from 1907 in 2023.
Yeah, it has been pretty crazy. And he's pitching against the Pirates tonight. All right, so that's it for Buy or Sell. Hit me with the open to Aristotle Jones, Sounds Good, West Virginia.
Oh, those West Virginia.
All right, Aristotle, we talk about that one note.
Oh, yeah.
How many times? How many takes?
Oh, how many takes, man?
How many takes?
That was a one take. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was getting into.
No, I can see.
No. That's all feeling. I'm telling you, I practice a lot just howling in all those hollers down there in Huntington. and trying to get that natural reverb bouncing off the trees and echoes. So I was ready for that moment, Dave. It's all about preparation. Man.
I think there was an edit there, and I think that you started and you ran like 10 yards to the mic.
It's like Eddie Van Halen on Beat It.
That's right.
3 different takes I had to splice together.
That's right.
You got to come out and see it live. Once you see it live, you'll know. It's a one take note, man. It's all about being there and feeling it, man.
Hey, man, you did Live on the Levee. We just talked to the Stevie Nicks lead character from Fleetwood Mac earlier in the hour. You know what the crowd down there is like.
Oh, everybody's awesome. It was nice because everybody gets to come up and talk to you afterwards. And I got a few stories from people that came and saw me when I was at the Clay Center back in February, opening up for Haley Reinhart.
Nice.
And so there was a lot of return faces out there. And so I think Charleston's happening, man. And get ready for Live on the Levee. If you got Stevie Nicks impersonators going to hit the stage, thunder only happens when it's raining. So,
I heard that.
So stay
I've heard
dry.
that. Yeah, Hillary Epstein was in here. She really does channel Stevie Nicks. She was very impressive.
There's tons of really amazing tribute bands out there right now. And there's kind of like the season of the tribute band because all of the tickets to see the real artist are like thousands of dollars apparently. So everybody's getting a tribute band.
You know what? You're right about that. But, let me ask you this before we get into your stuff. A tribute band, you're sort of locked in to doing songs that Fleetwood Mac does, for example.
I think you're more of an actor at that, in that instance. It's kind of like the band, the Beach Boys, when they pretended to be the beach band in the movie.
Yes.
That's all they could be. You can't be anything else. And so, but I think a lot of those musicians do it because it's work. And it's just like theater. You go up there and you want everybody to believe that they are watching the artist. And from talking to a lot of the old time artists that used to play like the supper clubs and everything, they've been doing this since, microphones were invented.
But don't you like the fact that when you write an original song, you can go ahead and perform it?
There's nothing that feels as amazing as hearing someone clap to one of your original songs, or when the crowd gets quiet because they're listening all of a sudden.
That's great.
And that's why I think it's so cool that we have this particular segment, because we get to highlight some of the amazing songwriters that are telling the stories of creativity here in West Virginia.
All right, let's talk. One of the things I love about this segment, I say every week, is we don't just put the spotlight on the performers. We put the spotlight on the venues in which they're performing.
That's right.
So let's start with that.
Well, it takes great places to have all these smiling faces singing all their songs. So, man, if you haven't made it over to the Eastern Panhandle for a while, then you need to stop over in Kaiser, West Virginia at the Indy on Main. First of all, I got to give a shout out to all of these music venues in these little tiny towns that are trying to keep music going, because this place is a unique setting for creative expression. It's one of those old vaudeville theaters that just kind of popped up. It's been an ice rink. It's been a playhouse. It's full of these amazing paintings with tons of history. And they do several mixed genre open mics. So, because it's a small town, you might get someone who's telling jokes or stories, or you might get singer-songwriters. You might get a full band that's just popping in the tour. And so you got to go check it out. It's called the Indy on Main. It's right there next to WVU Potomac State, the college there. But if you haven't been to Kaiser or the Eastern Panhandle for a while, or over towards Romney to get the peaches and the apples, make sure you stop over at Indy on Main in Kaiser.
All right, let's focus in on our band that we're talking about today, and we're lasering in on a band from North Central West Virginia.
Well, I say North Central West Virginia because this band is made up of some all-stars. My friend Kim Monday, did you know, Dave, when I first moved up to Morgantown, I worked at a music store called Folly Music, and it's right here, and on the bottom they sell guitars, but on the top floor they're doing all the instrument repairs. And there's this guy that grew up in South Charleston named Kim Monday, and he's been producing records in West Virginia for about 50 years. It's him, Jim Connolly, a doctor named Dilip Chandran, Ray Cook, who's an amazing guitarist, another music store owner, Adam Jones, and then Rick Ravencroft, who recently passed. They make up a group called the Born Again Hindus. And if you go out and see them, these guys make rock and roll just for the sake of making music. They've had gold records between them, but now they're just making great songs. They've recorded over 160 songs, 12 albums out. So I thought I would share a clip off of a song from their 9th album, and you'll see Dilip's face on the album if you go check it out. But here's a song called Every Time We Say Goodbye.
All right, here we go.
Every time we say goodbye, I hope that it's forever. And I need you to hold me tight, but we can't be seen together. Distracted by days that would go a lot faster if you went away. We're acting like teens in our parents' den. I don't know when I'll see you again. We try to deny the feelings that we had on that first night, but I don't want to admit that I miss you every time we say goodbye.
All right, I like that a lot.
You gotta love a song that starts off with the chorus.
Well,
that's an old school technique to get you right into it.
You know what? And don't be afraid, producers out there, don't be afraid to push the drums to the front.
That's right.
Don't be afraid.
See, Kim Monday, like I say, he's an old school producer. He was recording on tape and reel to reel. I was just talking to him earlier today, and he was telling me about how he found some music. He recently retired from doing instrument repair, and he's like, I was digging through these old reel to reel tapes, and I found a reel that had him and his wife on there. So I'm going to get him on an interview on Sounds Good to Me coming up for the next season. So check out Born Again Hindus. They got tons of music, and you'll fall in love.
Hey, well, take care of my boy Kim Monday. I mean, he's a South Charleston boy,
yeah,
so I got to take care of my peeps now.
You know what's up with that, man? And he was South Charleston. I'm telling you, you could probably. I'll play his hit song for you the next week. That way you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right, that's a deal. Let's talk about a good concert coming up.
Oh, yeah. Cool concert coming up is Groovin' with the Grove Six. So there's a really prevalent jam band that was on the scene just up until about last year. They've been together. Now they all kind of branched out, and so they haven't done any shows until this year, and that's Fletcher's Grove, and this is going to be their first show they've done this year, and they're having a whole music festival. It's a 3-day, 2-night camp out. There's going to be 30 acts from jam bands, and they got hip-hop bands, EDM bands. They have a silent disco, and you get to see all of these acts like Sacred Hollow, Jason Leach, Spike Yee, Megan Jean's Secret Family, and you can get tickets for that at groovinwiththegrove.com. The date for that is August 25th and 26th, and it's at Albright, West Virginia, at the Friends of Cheat Campground, where they do Cheat Fest every year. So that's kind of up towards the Eastern Panhandle, towards Maryland. So I hope everybody can come out to that. And there's another cool band that's going to be playing there, and they're the Cooley Gang. If you could imagine like Billy the Kid playing music with his buddies, that would be the Cooley Gang. So they wrote themselves a theme song called the Cooley Gang, and here's a clip from it.
All right, here we go. Cooley Gang.
Me and the boys, we've been hiding out in our home way up in the hills. And the famine brought my daddy here when I was just a kid. I went to work in the mills. But tonight we'll go down, give and play just to see what we can find. I loaded up my little 38 and I'm waiting on the moon to rise. Silently creeping through the last standing timber, we made our way to the door. My pistol, it was hot, my face, it was painted like a little Indian ready for war. Then we busted all in like a hurricane wind, full of lightning, full of thunder. But the old man, he was ready there, and I took some buckshot in the chest, some in the shoulder. Then I read the book of a riding man. I met the devil and I shook his hand. And the sheriff, he won't rest until every last one of us hangs. Yeah, the Cooley Gang.
Nice.
Doesn't that remind you of maybe like Robert Redford or somebody just picking, or what's his name? Cool Hand Luke, the guy, Paul Newman.
Paul Newman.
Just sitting around picking, and you can see the 70s, that sunny, grainy background in those movie scenes, and like, hey, in the Cooley Gang.
That was nice. That was nice. Now, your show tomorrow on our flagship, 580 WCHS, it airs at 8:06.
That's
You're
right.
on a WVAQ as well.
Yeah, it's on WAJR, WKMZ, and then like you can check it out, AristotleJones.com, or on any of the station websites if you want to listen to the podcast.
And that'll follow the West Virginia Outdoors tomorrow on the network on those stations.
It's a perfect pairing, man. It's like you can sit around and hear about nature and fishing with Chris, and then you can check me out and get down with the group thing with a nice hot cup of coffee.
Hey, for people who want to get in touch with you that have musical acts, or maybe they're in a band and they want to get into this segment, how do they do it?
Hey, send me an email to soundsgood@wvradio.com. I want to hear your music. I want to play your music. I want to talk about it. I want to share it with my friends. And you can find me on Facebook at Sounds Good WV. And, I'll play your music.
Hey, where are you playing this weekend? You doing anything this weekend?
Man, yeah. Well, I have a gig up here in Morgantown at Milan Park for the West Virginia Wellness Festival. And we're really excited about that. That's from 4 to 6 p.m. Tomorrow on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we're heading up to Pittsburgh for Picklesburg. It's a whole festival dedicated to pickles. So we're going to go up there and show them how we do in West Virginia. And don't forget, we got the Sounds Good Festival in Fairmont, West Virginia coming up next Saturday on July 29th. We got Shalem's going to be performing, the Heavy Hitters, Annie Neely Band, and then we have a at-large guest from Pittsburgh, Habitat. And you guys can come. It's a free show in Fairmont and it's down at Palatine Park, July 29th from 4 to 10 p.m.
All right, we'll talk more about that next week. Aristotle, have a good weekend.
Hey, you too, Dave, man. Keep grooving on the Cooley Gang.
On the Cooley Gang. Metro News Hotline.